Okay, we're continuing in Shulchan Ches. About medicine. Famous discussion. That's what we should say on Shabbos. That you have chiyuv to be Chal Shabbos in order to save a person's life. Is that Tchuya or Hutra? Tchuya or Hutra?
See, it's more than Hutra. It's like you have to do it.
Yeah. Even though you have a mitzvah to do it, but do we say, like you're saying, that Hutra, that it's as if there's no Shabbos? Or do we say that Shabbos is here, only what? It's pushed aside because we have an obligation to save this person's life. What would be the svara to say that it's Chuya? Or Hutra? Let's start with Hutra. The svara to say this Hutra is that the whole Shabbos is there to show a covenant between a bris, between Yidden and Hashem. If the Shabbos, if the Shabbos is not going to allow us to have a Yid, then what's the point of Shabbos? Which means that's the whole purpose of Shabbos for the Yid. Of Shabbos, the whole purpose of Shabbos is to make a ois, to make a bris, to make a covenant, to show the covenant between the Yidden and Hashem. So, if Shabbos is not going to allow a Yid to stay alive, it's not. What covenant do you have? What is Shabbos? Shabbos is there for the Yid, to show that there's a covenant between the Yid and Hashem. That's the whole gather. Let's say in Lerner Sprach, the whole gather, the whole definition of Shabbos is for a Yid. So it's like there's no Shabbos. It's like part of the condition of Shabbos. That Shabbos is only there if there's a Yid. If there's no Yid, there's no Shabbos. That we say Hutra, there's no Shabbos. So another interesting svara in Hutra, the Yisrael Engel, he says that the Kedusha of Shabbos, the holiness of Shabbos, in relation to the Kedusha of a Yid, is like chol, it's like weekday, it's like mundane. A Yid is so great. The
Kedusha of Shabbos.
It's so great, it's so kaddish, it's so holy. Inside the Kedusha of a Yid.
Oh, a Yid.
It's so great
like
that in comparison, not like Shabbos, the Kedusha of Shabbos
is a whole.
In comparison to
the goof from the Yid is so kaddish. They make Shabbos like a whole compared to the
Kedusha of a Yid. The Kedusha of Shabbos compared to the Kedusha Hutra. The Kedusha of Shabbos in comparison to the Kedusha of a Yid is like chayil, is like mundane. It doesn't exist, it's not there.
Wow.
Very chassidus shavart, huh?
Yeah, different one.
Yeah. But then you say that Chuya, that Shabbos is here. Only what that it's pushed aside because we have to save this person's life. So. And there's different nafkaminas, not so much lamaisa, but it's, and the Rishonim already had this machlekes. The Rashba says Chuya, the Maram says Hutra. The discussion is around where they discuss it is what it says in Sifta Zayin. In Sifta Zayin in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch. Page Taf Kuf Tzadek Ches. Yeah. If this sick person
Doctor says
who has a sakana for his life, he needs to eat meat. So what do? Sheichtem le. You're allowed to shecht an animal in order to feed him. And we don't say, let's feed him a nevela, which means if we have a behema which wasn't shechted, and let's give him that, which is only Yisr Lav, and you eat to eat from an avela is only Yisr Lav, it's a leisas. So let's make a cheshbon, let's make a calculation. We're going to say, let's rather feed him Yisr Lav, give him from an avela, v'al nechalol of Shabbos Yisr Skila. Let's not shech the behema, which shechting a behema on Shabbos is malacha, and which is the Isra Skila. Before it's a good cheshbon. So why would we say that you're supposed to shecht instead of giving him the basar? Ki ha-Shabbos nitna lidachas kvar b'havara v'bishul. The Shabbos is already pushed off when it comes to, because you're going to have to anyhow make a fire and cook through havara and bishul for the nevela even. Yeah, for this nevela. It was already pushed off, so you're allowed already shecht also for him. So that's one thing. And furthermore, by nevela, each kazayis that she's eating, he's being aver.
And by shchita, it's aver is not a shchita.
Shchita, how many times do you have to shech the behema? One time. So you're only ever being once, which we see from here. The Rabbi actually brings a raya in Geras Tshuva, we're learning these days. He brings a raya that many small avedas equals up to a big aveda, and even more. He adds the word, I think, in Geras Tshuva, v'yesed.
Like, it's worse. Because the thing is, small aveda, I'm not going to make tshuva, that's even worse. When you make a big avera, you don't have to make tshuva for it.
Oh, that's what I would say about Asham Tali and a Savik. But he's saying a lot of small avedas.
It's worse than a big avera.
Worse than one big aveda. He says, I think in the aveda he brings, in Geras Tshuva, he says it's like clouds. You can have a thick cloud, but then you can have a lot of thin clouds, a lot of them. It could be darker than
one big one.
Yeah.
I read this week a biography of Stipler. Somebody came to him to confess that he had a lot of virus. He felt very distraught and very despondent. So Stipler asked him, do you have any mitzvahs focusing on that?
Yeah.
He preferred the person that asked him.
Very good. I like the answer.
What do you say? Stipler said you should focus on many good mitzvahs that you did rather than focusing on virus to get him out of this depression. He's very distraught.
Sound like it's a child.
Yeah, very good.
Wasn't Chassidus?
They actually have it. They come from Chassidim.
They do?
Yeah. Hornsteipler. Chaim Kanevsky wears a garter, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Russia. Hornsteipler. Some people say he has a Sheikh's Chabad a little bit. Yeah, a little Sheikh's Chabad, some people say. So he says that a reason why you should shecht the animal rather than giving him a nevela, because nevela you're going to be over every single kazayas, you're going to be over. On the other hand, if you shech, you're only being able one time. Even let's say he'll eat less than a kazayis, Nevela, there's still an Isser min HaTorah every time you're eating. Your taka only get macros on a kazayis. But every bite, every maisa, that bite that you eat, you're being over on an Isser. Chatzi shir is awesome in HaTorah. It's machlekes in the Gemara, Vich and Shlakish. Chatzi shir is awesome in HaTorah. Half of a shir. So yeah, halacha is that half is also awesome in HaTorah.
There's another issue here that even Adam Pator so here you're telling the shofet that you should do an Hakamura to save the whole life. You're doing an Isur Kala.
Isser Kal.
Nevela is Kal, then the
Compared
Shveda.
to here, where the Gilul Shabbat, it's
So it's a very good question.
But as you said, it's Isur Kal, but a lot of Isur Kal. Kal, every bite is a
Yeah,
Kal.
but he's saying that you can't tell a person to do an Aveda that the other person shouldn't come to do an Aveda.
He have to eat. The doctor says he have to eat.
He's saying it's not an Aveda.
The doctor says he have to eat now. So why he's making a veil?
So you're saying that it's different. You want to say that here's different. This is not a regular Aveda. Over here, there are a lot of shechts. Over here, and the question is also, when we say Shabbos is Tchuya, who is it Tchuya for? Is it Tchuya for the Chayla, or is it Tchuya for those who are cooking for him?
Both.
Or we say both.
Both.
Which means nobody's going to end up doing an Aveda because they're allowed to do it. Whoever's going to do it is allowed to do it because it's Tchuya. The question is, which one, who should we make? It's basically, since we're saying it's only Tchuya, it's not Hutra, so we're making a cheshbon over here that it's more, that we want to make less Chilul Shabbos.
Right.
Because they're saying it's Tchuya. Because they're saying it's Tchuya, so we want to make it less Chilul Shabbos. But when they do it, they're not going to be over because they're allowed to do it.
It's a mitzvah. It's not that they're not.
It doesn't have to do tshuva afterwards.
It's a mitzvah.
Right.
Obviously, it's getting schar for that.
And you shouldn't do tshuva afterwards because then the next time you're not going to want to do it because you're doing because you thought you did something wrong.
It's not here, but when I sort of go for a call, right? And they drive the person from Brooklyn to the Manhattan Hospital, right? They finish, they put the guy in the hospital. Now they drive the car back to Brooklyn. Why? Let them stack there. No. Shema, when they come back to Brooklyn, they're going to have another call. They're allowed to do it.
Yeah, but
And even if they're not going to have another call, they're not going to want to go the next time.
No. The point is that
They're not
just
going
for
to
that, the halacha says you're allowed.
even if they're not going to have another call, because they're not going to want to go the next time. If they know that they can't go back home, they're not going to want to go the second time.
Not because of that.
he's separated from his family on Shabbos. He's never one.
Not because of that. Because you might need a car again to take another koile. So you're doing for tzor koile, even though it's not 100%, halacha was you're allowed. When they can't open the radio, they cannot smoke.
This is based on Allah in Shin Chavtes, the end of Shin Chavtes, it says, Kol Yitzum Hatzel, whoever goes to save, it's talking about they're going out to save the Yidden from the enemies that are coming to conquer on Shabbos. So Chazer Mechliz Yanom came, they could go back with their weapons back to their place.
This is in a war, but here is somebody sick.
Pekuach Nefesh, they're going to save for Pekuach Nefesh.
They once had a tzol in the summertime in Bar Park. They were short-handed. They didn't have enough people on the call. There was nobody to hold the house in back, so I volunteered. So I pulled the dog and I said I volunteered. They didn't ask me. I said they volunteered because they said they were short.
Yeah, that's true.
What's the question? Yeah. It's funny that they called. Yeah. Like in the country, it's mitzvah begadol. Okay, so Mashenkin, Meshchita, Ein Esel is Rachad Apishu Chamra. On the other hand, Shchita, you're only doing one Isser, even though that Isser is more Chamra, but a lot of it's one. So a lot of this another reason is because maybe the sick person is gonna know that you're giving him nevela. Yeah, he's gonna be disgusted in it. He's not gonna want to eat it. He's not gonna eat it. He's stacking, and he's gonna come a sakana. Nevertheless, if he's talking about time, something time, so then the nevela is right over there. You have to go to shechted, and it takes a while. Machil makes a nevela, so then you give him the nevela. So the cheshbainis you leave if you do only if you have time. If you don't have time,
do what you're supposed to do to save.
Do whatever's quicker.
Yeah.
But we see he's making cheshbainis over here. Cheshbainis is only if you say tchuya. If you hutra, then you don't say cheshbainis. If he needs, let's say, to heat up wine for him, so the yid should fill up the wine in the. We're talking about the problem. Might be a problem. The guy is going to fill it up. So the yid should fill it in the barrel, in the cup, in the place where he's heating it, and the guy will heat it up. You should watch him. Watch the guy. He shouldn't touch it before it becomes boiled. Even the touch not a problem. It's only going to be usher by touching it. But if the yid's going to heat it up, so then it's going to be Issa Shalteira. Even though over here he's going to touch it maybe, and it's going to be Issa D'Rabbanan. Right? If a guy touches the wine, it's going to be Issa D'Rabbanan. Yain Nesach is Minatay. This time, let's say, touching it is only Midrabbanan.
We don't drink wine that go in touch.
We don't. We don't. We don't. But this, by touching, is only Midrabbanan. He's touching, is only the Midrabbanan. If he's going to pour it, he's going to shake it, that's a problem. Minatayra, Yain Nesach. But touching is only Midrabbanan safe. So we'd rather have him have a Midrabbanan safe rather than the Yid's heating up the water, heating up the wine. And if the Yid's heating up the wine, he's doing the Isser of Havara, Bishul. Right? He's doing Isser Minatayra. We're not worried that he's going to be scared. Basically like this. Over here we're talking about a case where we have an Isser D'Rabbanan versus Isser Minatayra. The Isser Midrabbanan is that it's going to be maybe wine, it's going to be Asr Midrabbanan Seifrim. And the Isser Minatayra is if that the Yid should heat it up, and you won't have a problem of the wine being Asr Midrabbanan Seifrim, but the Yid is doing a Malacha Minatayra, heating up the wine on Shabbos. So which one should he do in this case? We have a Minatayra Lagabe D'Rabbanan. So he says, in this case, obviously you do the D'Rabbanan, let the guy heat up the wine. And over here, maybe we're going to say, just like we said earlier, we said we shouldn't give the chela, we shouldn't give him a nevelas because he's going to be disgusted, he's not going to eat it. But Issa D'Rabbanan, then that is lav dafka to be worried about. But if it's hutra, we don't have any problems. Let the yid heat up the wine.
Everything.
Even though the Even though you can tell they're not going to do it, because we don't make cheshbonos.
Yeah, but those with the veil and the one, you don't see after the full change it out.
It doesn't make a
Very
difference.
little thing.
Right, I'm saying.
You don't see it.
So this is we see that we hold the tchuya. Allah is the tchuya. The next halacha says Amadua reifim shasara gregeres achas. If the reifim, the doctors, they estimated, they evaluated him that he needs a dried out date or fig. So 10 people all ran, and each one brought one gegeres. So they only need one. The doctor said he only needs one dried fig. 10 people run and they cut off, not on Shabbos. You're not allowed to cut Shabbos the dried figs. And they all bring it. Each one brings one. So he says, Kulam Pturim, they're all exempt. They didn't do anything wrong. Not only they didn't do anything wrong, they Yishlem Schar Meis Hashem. They have Schar reward from Hashem. I feel that even with the first one, he was cured. The Rebbe told us to the doctor, a few doctors after the Rebbe's heart attack, 1978. So a lot of doctors came. So one of the doctors said, I didn't have to come. I see there's other doctors here. The Rebbe said it's halacha. So if the Hatzalah all get a call and a bunch of them take the call for some reason, usually they hear on the radio. It's not a problem. It's saying they get scared.
Even if Canada came only one did the job and
One did the job.
doesn't matter.
Don't say, oh, I didn't do anything.
It doesn't matter. It's still gets
Right. If they say he needs 2 Gregories, 2 dates. So they went to the field, and what did they find? They found 2 Gregories on one plant, attached to one plant. And they found 3 Gregories. I'm sorry. They found
either 3 go out of one
3
branch,
out of one branch,
or 3 branches.
or 2, each one on its own branch. So what do? You cut the one which has 3 because it's only cutting one branch. It's only one blocker. Even though you're cutting, getting extra gregories, but you're cutting less. Which that's the main malacha. Because the problem of being married b'shurim, now that I add b'shurim, let's say you're doing hitzah, let's say you're carrying out, you're now that I add more things to the baggage. You have to take out when you're like, someone's going to a hospital, has to show them, they have to take a suitcase or something. You take what you need. So not extra, right? But over here we're saying.
I told you before you had a baby to prepare a bag, right?
But over here it's saying that you should rather cut less than, even if you're going to add more in shurim, you're going to add more fruit. But if you had 2 Gregories in one on one branch, the gimel beikes achad, and 3 in one branch, you should only cut the one which has 2 on it. Also the harvest b'shir, because you're not allowed to add in the shear of the malacha. That was malacha nasabay. Ava b'shein marmar b'teirich malacha. Even though you're not adding in
cutting a branch of 2 or a branch of 3 is the same.
Same thing. Shakel nasavas achas. You're cutting it all to 1 second. Okay, so at the end, but he says, if it's
don't stand up by the tree and start thinking.
there's no time, so you just cut it right away. So we see further the in of Doche.
Shabbos is very, very important to keep that even if you have a doubt, Doche and keep quiet.
Right, but this is only if you have time and you try not to do too much malacha if you have time. Then there's in Sifyat Gimel, which we read. We read the not this past time, the time before you were here in the Sifyat Gimel.
You want to add something?
But it's connected to this.
Oh.
We said over here in Yud Gimel, we said, this is where he clearly says that it's Tchuya. He said if you know that somebody 8 days has to take a certain medicine, so don't say, let me wait and let me not give him today, so you shouldn't be
start after Shabbos.
Start after Shabbos, so you shouldn't be Mechal Shabbos. You say no, because if you're not going to start now, maybe he's not going to live through all the 8 days. He's not going to live, even though on Shabbos he'll be okay. And he says in Yud Gimel, towards the end of in the first paragraph, he says, but if you're able to right away do the four without being Mechal Shabbos, but you're going to have to wait a little bit. You shouldn't, which means you have 5 minutes, Shabbos is finished. So if you're not going to have to wait, it's just not going to be the second. If there's no sakana at all, with this waiting a little bit, so then you should push it off. Why? What's he say? It's Tchuya, but it's not totally Hukra. If you're able to be Mechal, he's saying without being Mechal Shabbos, so you know it's not pushed away for it. And this is what he continued to say it outside, what we said last time, but when it comes to using a Yisrael, we say you should rather use a Yisrael, a Yid. That's something else, because why do you want to use Yisrael, even though B'chura? Because Yisrael is allowed to do it. So we're allowed to do it. And we don't want people to think that you can't do it through a Yid. And we want the dafka to be a Muslim and Mukhris to do it through a great person. Each is the one who should save the person's life. But everyone should see that it's mutter to save someone's life on Shabbos. Now, it's interesting. It's a mitzvah. So that's why it should be done through Yisrael, and you should do even through a Gadol. Gadol Yisrael. And the second opinion, which said that maybe you shouldn't do it through Yisrael, he mentions the idea of doing it through a shinui. So the Alter Rebbe doesn't say what he paskins when it comes to shinui. So should you do a shinui? Should you not do a shinui on Shabbos? When you need a Mechal Shabbos for. So obviously, if shinui is going to make things take longer, you're not going to be able to do it properly. So obviously, you don't do a shinui.
Look, if the line over here on Yichet,
right.
So from this you could bring a raya to the other one.
So for sure, if it's schlepp things, then for sure not, and if not able to do properly. But we're talking about if it's not so frantic, you have some time. We said even if you have some time, you still could do it through a Yid. Alter Rebbe saying, right. Even if you have time. But
it's a sakonet from the forces, not just
because the Yid's going to do it better, and we want to show that you can do it through a Yid. There's a lot of reasons. But Shinei, the Alter Rebbe doesn't clearly say which way he paskins when it comes to Shinei. So it's Machlik Rishenim. So Avraham Chaim wants to say that that's to be machmer, to use a shinui. If you could use a shinui, which means you have to call, right? And you could press the buttons like that, you know. Instead of pressing like that, it's not going to make a big difference. There's no rush. I'm saying obviously you're not going to have to call 5 times, saying because you're not doing it right. If it's a good phone, which you're able to, you know. you're able to do it, you're able to do it with a shinei, you should do it with a shinei.
So tells you that if you put they remember the speed dial, do less on Shabbos. They tell you
Yeah.
to do speed dial.
There's another idea also which you're saying, which you're pointing out, is that this that we say Mechal Shabbos is you can't look at Chil, put yourself in a situation that you're gonna have to come to Chil Shabbos. You have to. I'm saying nobody should need it. I'm saying, but if somebody who knows that he's gonna be in a matzav that's gonna have to be Mechal Shabbos, he should prepare for it before Shabbos. He has a chiyuv to prepare before Shabbos. He shouldn't have to do the Chil Shabbos. If he didn't prepare, he's still obviously Mechal Shabbos for him because he's not allowed to kill himself, right? So it's too bad. I'm saying we're going to save him whatever it is.
That's the idea. It's emergency.
But even if sorry, so you need to prepare whatever possible before Shabbos. You can't.
They tell you to prepare money, to prepare the wallet.
Try to do it in a way in Kanais to have even a car service, which you don't have to pay. You can pay after Shabbos.
Right.
I called on Shabbos and they didn't have a car anyhow. But
They call out somebody else, right?
called somebody else. Yeah, that's no choice. But there's also, for example, the Rebbe also talks about it when you get making surgeries. Obviously, if the doctors say you need to make a surgery Friday, let's say.
On Sunday or Shabbos, or Friday or Shabbos, right?
The Rebbe said, try not to do it Friday, Thursday. Try to do it at least 3 days before Shabbos. 3 days before Shabbos.
If you could.
If you could. Obviously, if the way it works, certain doctors, they have their surgery days.
Right.
And they say, this is the days you have to do the surgery, right? But if you have an option,
Do it early.
you have to try not to, because also, B'Shas, you're going to end up in a person, this homeless, nobody should need them, theoretically. A person's, if they're going to end up in the hospital on Shabbos, it's also a lot of tsar. It's a tsar for everyone, for the chayla, for the parent, for everyone, for the relative, for everyone. And also in the hospital, you're going to have to do a lot of malachis for a post-operation. You have to do a lot of malachis and everything. Therefore, it's better to try to schedule it earlier, just like you have it also traveling.
You're not allowed to go Shabbos.
Certain things. You shouldn't put yourself in a situation like that you have to Mechal Shabbos. Try to prepare always. A person has a condition that he always has to take care of every Shabbos. So to try to work it out that there should be the least Mechal Shabbos possible. So there's also in Sif Dalet in Al Rebbe Shulchan Aruch a discussion about if someone's a sakana sheish bechela, chela sheish besakana, what are you allowed to do for him? Are you only allowed to do things which, if you're not going to do those things, then it's going to be a sakana? If you don't do those things, it's going to be dangerous. Or you can do other things also for him since he has a sakana. Let's look at Sif Dalet. And this is connected to Tchuy and Hutra. It says Sif Dalet.
Going back now?
Back. This is connected, it's Samach Tzedek connects it to Tchuy and Hutra.
Makash al-Chalal?
Yeah, Makash al-Chalal, Ein Tzricha Emet. Any internal wound does not need evaluation. We assume that it's life dangerous, life threatening. Alafilu b'stam, even if we don't know, she'ein shamakim, we don't have any experts telling us that it's life threatening. Shemakirimba, that they know that it's life threatening. Shesar chilo, that it needs to be mechala for it. V'gam achile neim meklum, and also the chilo does not saying anything. Eisen like kol masher agil master b'chil, so you can do everything which you usually do in the weekday. For you give him all foods and medicine which is good for a sick person. Even if he's not going to have these things, he's not going to die from it, he's still be able to live. You do whatever you usually do for him in the weekday. Since the sickness is something which has a sakana which is dangerous, you're allowed to do anything for him. But if you know that this sickness is you can wait, it doesn't need a mechalal. Also, you're not allowed to be mechalal on it, even though it's something which is inside, internal. Instead of sure if the doctor or the sick person said he doesn't need it. The first opinion says that you could do whatever you usually do in the weekday for a sick person, you're allowed to do for this person who's in a life-threatening situation on Shabbos. Even though if you're not going to give him that thing, he's not going to die from it, from not having it. You can do all the normal things to do in the weekday for him. If we're talking about somebody who has a sickness which is actually life-threatening, that's the first opinion. Some people say, even in a place which needs chilul,
you're allowed
to be mechalal Shabbos. You can only be mechalal b'davar sheyesh lachash b'yishim yasul yistaken. And if you know if he's not going to get this treatment, he's going to be in danger. Only those things you could do for him, this opinion says. But if there's no, by refraining from giving him this treatment, then there's no sakana. Even though he needs it, in the weekday you would usually give it to him and do it for him. Shabbos, we don't do it to him for Shabbos. We only do it through Goyim. Like you're allowed to tell a guy to do anything which is needed for Chedesh Yemei Sakana.
That's why in municipal the drivers are going.
Right.
In municipal, because this are open, the drivers for the Atzola and Shabbos are going. They pay a going 24 hours. To stand the ambulance.
Yeah, but Yesh Leimar that it's better that a Yid should do it. I don't know.
So the paramedic and it's the Jewish people, but the drivers are always Schwarzes. Going.
In Crown Heights it's Yidden.
No, it's not the halacha.
I don't know. Yesh Leimar that it's better that you should be through a Yid, because when you come to him, this is if it's a Chedesh Emes, like a Chedesh Emes or something he doesn't need. But to transport a person to the hospital is maybe should be done through a Yid, because the show, first of all, they're quicker, there's more zizus, and care more, and also they're, and like Yeshiva player, who comes first? Atzola comes first.
No, I'm saying that.
And also,
that's all in Williamsburg.
I understand.
They pay the guy
yeah.
to sit on the ambulance, physically
I
sit on the ambulance. Not if there's a call, then go to the ambulance.
I understand, but I'm saying there's a svara to say to use a Yid in that case. Even then, there's a svara to say that, because and also the Shavi one, there's no problem to Mechalal Shabbos because that's important. Many times it's life threatening. Right. But so here we have two opinions when it comes. But what about things which are not life threatening? The person is in a life threatening situation. But could you do things which are not life-threatening to his things that you usually would do for him in the weekday? Now we have a machlekes. Some people want to say it's dependent on this. Do you say it's chuya or do you say hutra? If you say Shabbos is chuya, means that Shabbos is here. Only what? It's pushed aside because you need to save this person. So as much as you Chilul Shabbos, you try to minimize as much Chilul Shabbos as possible. So you try to minimize as much Chilul Shabbos as possible. Therefore, obviously, you can only do things which are to save his life, but things which are not going to put him in danger by not having it, he can't do it because he tried to minimize the Chilul Shabbos. With your guy.
Yeah, but somebody called a bubble colony and the gate's broken. How can I fix it? If you have a gator in a pool and the gate's broken for some reason, you just get a kid that pulled in and the guy fix it.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, I said the boy did a lot of knocks in the morning. Shabbos. He's almost, you know exactly what to do without telling him. On Shabbos. Fixing pipes, this. Without telling him.
So then there's but if you say that Shabbos is Hutra, Shabbos is like doesn't exist, is like weekday now. So then you can do everything for him. If he's a chayla sheyish beisakana, he has a life-threatening situation, you're allowed to do all malachas for him. So even in Hutra, if you could do it, if right in front of you, another way of doing it, so you should do the heter way. But I'm saying that you don't have to make yourself crazy. You could do, and over here you could give him other things, even things which are not life-threatening. So that's what some people want to be toila and want to say that these two opinions are dependent if you say tchuy hutra.
Does this concept come from the Gemara?
Of tchuy and hutra? Tchuy, the concept b'chlal of tchuy and hutra is in Gemara. Like by for example in the Beis Hamikdash, we say when we say that, let's say all the kohanim are tamei, do we say tuma is tchuya, or we say tuma is hutra? Which means, do we say that the kelim, if even though the kohanim are tamei, let's use vessels when they're making the karbanis, let's use vessels kelim which are tar, or do we say so that's tchuya? Try to minimize the tumah. Or would you say putra? And no, anyhow, once everyone's tamei, so the kelim could also be tamei. So this is a clear discussion of Gemara. And so too about a few other things about tchuy and hutra. About Shabbos, if it's tchuy and hutra, is not a Gemara, not a clear Gemara. It's a machlekes of Rishonim. Like I mentioned before, it's the Rashba wants to say tchuy, the Maram wants to say hutra. That's where this whole discussion of tchuy and hutra, it's not from Avraham, not from Avraham, it's from Rishonim. It's not in the Gemara. So what's the halacha? So the Rabbi says, "V'cheini shlinig b'medinas elu shenegam lahachmer." He says the minig is that what you should be machmer, that you should only do. Custom is only do things whatever is life-threatening. Person who's sick, life-threatening situation, only do things which are life-threatening, which he needs for his life, but nothing else. Obviously, if there's a suffix, if maybe it might be connected, if there's a doubt that maybe it might be important for his life, so you have to do everything which is possible. So he said that the minig is to be machmer over here, even in something which is if you do it through a guy, the minig is to do it through a guy. If it's not life-threatening, it's not having it. Which means the minig is even, we said over there, even by things, the minig, which Alter Rebbe is not so happy with this minig, but he says even things which there's a sakana, you should also do through a guy. Alter Rebbe is not so happy about them, but that's the minig.
No, we said no, the opposite. In sakana you should do it. Don't make the guy do it.
Right, but the minig, the Alter Rebbe says the minig was to do it through a guy. The Alter Rebbe says he doesn't not happy with the minig, but that's what the minig was.
But we don't do like that.
Alter Rebbe says it's better not to do like that. Right. But he's saying since there is such a minig, so therefore also over here we should be machmer. Also that's at least over here we should be machmer. But something which there's no sakana, by not giving it to him, you should use a guy. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Based on the minig over there, even though the Alter Rebbe is not happy with that minig, so over here,
it's not sakana, so give it to a guy.
Those things there's no sakana, you should give it to a guy. Even if even if he's going to be maybe the guy's going to be a little lazy, going to take a little time, a little bit, but since it's not life-threatening, you do it through a guy. But he says, but if there's no guy, you could rely on the first opinion that says you can do everything yourself for a sakana, even things which are not a danger. But he finishes off from the Baal Nefesh should be careful for himself. which means for himself, means that if the person himself is the Chelams, probably. I don't know if you should be frum on the other person's cheshbon. I don't know. He's saying
if you mechalel, you give someone else some chalal for you.
I'm saying, but Balnev Yachish La'atzmei says the Balnev should be machmer for himself. What do you mean? Who's he talking about? Talking about for the person himself.
The sick
Pashas, he means a sick person.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that.
Right. So.
The whole thing with the shivui is you're doing it something differently as opposed to someone else doing it. So you rationalize yourself and I'm not actually doing it. I'm doing it differently. I don't do it as opposed to somebody else doing it. So the balance.
Try to, yeah. So, but he says you could rely, if you don't have a guy, you could even do things which are not life-threatening. For this person who's a life-threatening situation, you're allowed to do other things which usually during the weekday you would do to different medicines or different foods which you usually give to him, and even do malachas for this person, even though if he wouldn't have it, he wouldn't be in danger, but because he is in a dangerous situation, this person, you could do all these type of things.
The person's in danger, you don't do the right, you do it yourself.
Right, but that's to do things which are going to help him get out of the danger, to save his life. But what we're talking about, things which are not for this person who's in danger, to do things which are not. If he's not going to have it, it's not going to be a danger to his life. Other things. That's what we're discussing.
Not life threatening.
You want to give him a tea. He's not going to have a tea. He's going to live. You want to give him a tea, and during the weekday you'll make a tea for him. So he says you should try to use a guy. You don't have a guy. You could be saying on. You could do it yourself. But he says if the person himself is a sick person, he try to be machmer, try to take the pain a little bit.
So before you said that an Erev Shabbos he called the customers for a baby, and prepared them before this. There was a Jew calling an Erev Shabbos and my wife pregnant, and I ordered a taxi, a Shabbos. So he said, what you ordered? If I call you, know what to send. He said, but make sure you don't send a Jewish driver. I said, no problem. He called Shabbos like he's going to the baby. Middle of the way, he said, the dispatch calling the driver. He said, where are you? He said, I picked up the Nazis. Because the guy called and said before Shabbos, I don't want a Jewish driver.
Good.
So middle of the way, the dispatch called him, where are you? He said, I picked up the Nazis for you.
Yeah. Good.
Get it?
Yeah, I got it.
It's also a concept that if someone's not feeling well, you want to make them feel more at peace.
So anything which is any sort of doubt, that's what some people say that Advad wants to say. That's why you're allowed to give him all these different things, because even if he's not in a stable state right now. So you want to, any little thing, he's much more sensitive to. Every little thing, he's much,
So it's make him to make him lose.
To even things which maybe don't clearly make him in danger, but he's more sensitive, so you have to be more careful with him.
I know someone, my previous neighbor, the lady, she had lost her husband the day before, and Friday night she said she doesn't feel well. So one neighbor said, oh, she just lost her husband. Let her just ride it out. And then someone else said he has to go to the hospital. They took her to the hospital and they put her in the cardiac unit. And then the doctor said, because she lost her hospital, there's a medical terminology of someone loses this house that the next day they have heart trouble. That's what it's called.
She was sick.
She had a heart condition, but the day after, they said there's a medical condition. Someone loses this house and they have a regular heart condition.
So, but the Tzemach Tzedek wants to say that maybe, so according to this, the B'Poel Mamish, the Tzemach Tzedek says about Nefesh should be Mechmer, maybe because the halach is like Tchuya. That's what he wants to say, because the halach is like Tchuya. But the Tzemach Tzedek really wants to say that really, even if you say Tchuya, even if you want to say Tchuya, you could still say that there's two types of Tchuya. There's Tchuya that we're gonna say that only what's necessary, what's life-threatening is okay. But then there's Tchuya that we say since it's already pushed away. Shabbos already pushed away for one thing, so we let it pushed away for some other things also. Therefore, we allow you to do other things also. It's just,
Stay in the machlokes. He doesn't.
so he's not clear that we say hutra, even that this opinion is even saying hutra. So it's pretty clear that we say tchuya, which means Shabbos we try to minimize as long as it doesn't affect in any way. We're not in an emergency situation that's going to affect the situation. If we have time, then we try to minimize the chilul Shabbos. That's only if we have time. But if you don't have time, obviously, you do whatever you got to do. You don't make any calculations. It's like, as Hashem, we shouldn't ever need this.
Shouldn't ever need it, right.